Hi guys, welcome back to Time Management for the Average Joe. My name's Rob Greenup and I'm from Sydney, Australia. This is part two of the two-part series of being late, the culture of being late. So this is episode 4, part 2. If you haven't seen episode 3, part 1, make sure you go and do that as soon as possible. So in part 1, I shared the first point of the 4 areas that I believe can hold us back from being on time, particularly when we're about to leave the house to go and do something. And so that could be to go to work, it could be to go to uni, it could be going to church, it could be going out with friends, it could be any other instances that could cause us to be late. So in part 1, the first point was procrastination, and I talked about procrastination being the thief of time. So I'm now going to share the 3 other areas of the 4 points that I spoke about and give examples and solutions on how to go from being late to being on time and better still being early. So point number 2, so first one was procrastination. Point number 2 is motivation. So sometimes we're just not motivated to get up and go to work or school or university because for the most part those places just aren't that interesting. I actually love my job, but for the most part, people aren't that excited to go to work or sit in an hour worth of traffic or sit in the daily commute on public transport. And on the way to the job, their education facility for between 8 and 10 hours a day, and then sit in the same traffic on the way home and sit next to the same people on the public transport and all that sort of stuff. Why would you be motivated to do those types of things? But I actually think this is a great opportunity that you could use that time while you're either in the car driving or you're sitting in the daily commute to get other things done. And so I like to listen to other motivational speakers on my iPod. Sometimes I read an inspiring book or even write down notes for my next video session. So how else could you use your time? So if you can find something to motivate you in the morning, you'd be much more inclined to get up early, get your tasks done, and start your day on a happy and organised note. You may be motivated by the prospect of starting a new project at work. You may be motivated by having lunch with an old friend. You may be motivated to finish something that you've invested weeks or even months into. If you can have something to get you up and going first thing, it will definitely assist you in being on time. So, of course, being motivated is a real tough one. So you've got to find what motivates you to get you up and get you going. Now, it may not be just first thing in the morning. It might be going out at any time from the house to go to any event or function or do a task that requires your time management to really be on point. So you need to be motivated and you need to find what motivates you. It's obviously easy to be motivated if you're going to go off and see your favourite concert or favourite sporting event, but sometimes it's not so easy to be motivated when you've got to get up and go to work or go and do something that's not so interesting each day. So being motivated is one of the things that I look for. I look for opportunities to be motivated to make sure I can start my day, or I can look for a way of finding a reason to do what I've got to do, even though the task may not be interesting, it may even be boring. But as you're writing some of these things down, I'm going to start now on point number 3. So there was procrastination and then motivation. And now one of the biggest issues that I've noticed when it comes to people being late, and that is distraction. And all manner of things can distract us when we're trying to get ready to leave the house. And there are so many things that can catch our eye. And if we are not vigilant, we can very easily be distracted by the following. This is just an example that I have noticed, and you may even be able to add to this list as well. So the types of things that can distract us when we're trying to stay focused to get out of the house so we're not late to a particular event, or we're not late to work, or we're not late to a dinner reservation, is possibly the following. So the TV can be a great distraction. An electronic device like a phone or an e-book or an iPod. A magazine or a newspaper that catches your eye, or maybe some unopened mail. You think you better open that while you're doing some other things, but it can be a distraction. The family pets. Obviously, the family pets are wonderful. They've got to be fed. They're cute. You want to pat them. You want to say hello to them. But even that, 30 seconds or a minute, sometimes can be a distraction, and then you'll forget what it is you're meant to be doing in order for you to stay on time and stay focused as you're heading out that door. So the family pets are awesome, but make sure you don't get too distracted by them. Sometimes chores around the house, you'll see that washing needs to go in the washing machine, or the sink needs to be cleaned, or maybe you need to just tidy up around the lounge room, and all those things need to be done. They're tasks that obviously, to keep the house nice and tidy, they need to be done, but they're not necessarily important enough for you to be distracted as you're trying to head out the door. And sometimes people don't even realize they get distracted by stuff like that. They see it, they think, well, I better do it right now, but it's not necessarily the time, and that should be part of a to-do list for another day. Maybe the afternoon when you come home. Look, the internet, including video and social media sites, are a big one. You start on one video and you're looking at cats, the next thing you know, you're wondering how you got to a site about building bridges, and the next thing you know, you're wondering, how on earth did I get to famous boxes? And the video sites and social media can just distract you no end. And we're not talking about 3 or 4 minutes. Sometimes you can sit on a video site or a social media site, and half an hour later you've just lost that time because of distraction. And especially when you've got to try and get out the door by a certain time so you are not late, you really need to put those types of things away. The radio can be another one as well. If you're sitting there listening to talkback, or if you stop for a moment and you hear your favourite song, that can also be a distraction. And you really want to try and put those types of things away. But if the radio helps you in the morning and gives you a jovial and happy outlook on life, well, maybe the radio is a good thing. But for the most part, anything that could be a distraction needs to be turned off or put away, especially in the early weeks or months of you trying to wriggle out of this habitual issue of being late. You know, sometimes even family members or others who live at the house, or friends that may be over, can sometimes also be a distraction as well. And you don't want to be rude, and you want to stop for a few moments to chat with them, offer a family member advice, or help a child with a question. And all that is important. But again, if you haven't allowed for that in your effort to get out of the house on time, that can also be a distraction. You know, these distractions can steal many minutes or even more when you're trying to get ready, especially if you've got other things that need to get done that are normal, and these other things become a distraction. You know, you need to reduce or eliminate, and I think eliminate's probably the best word, the distractions that have historically stopped you from leaving the house on time. If you look back and consider the types of things that have held you up in the past, and if you do have an issue with constantly being late, and maybe it is one of those distractions that I just listed, maybe you've got your own distractions, but I think you need to identify them, start to reduce them, and then eliminate them completely, because you need to get out of the house and get to where you're going on time. So playing one more game on your electronic device, or reading one more page of your book, or quickly putting those clothes on the line, or taking the rubbish out to the bin, sometimes those types of things are going to restrict you from keeping on schedule. You know, in episode 1, I spoke about urgent versus important, and how you can categorize certain tasks and where they fit into your day, and that'll help determine how successful you are in completing your to-do list. So if you haven't seen the pilot, or if you haven't seen episode 1 or 2, make sure you go back and look for those as well, because there's some great information there. So obviously this is part 2 of part 1. So watching part 1 of the culture of being late will also be helpful for you to understand the process I'm forming here. So, you know, I'd like to suggest that none of the examples I've just given are either important or urgent, and so you should avoid them at all costs if they are going to cause you to be late. If you have made up some time by doing multiple things at once, and you've looked at the clock and you know how you have a spare 5 minutes, well, then before leaving, you can maybe quickly do something that you want to do. Maybe flick through that magazine, or maybe play a quick game, as long as it doesn't distract you from getting out on time, so you can go and do the things that you've put in your to-do list as well. And all this sort of thing is important. So the last point, which is paramount in leaving the house in a timely fashion, is preparation. So we have procrastination, we have motivation, we have distraction, and preparation. You know, if you can really nail all those areas and make sure they don't become the reason why you're late. Then you can enjoy some relaxation, and that's an awesome place to be. So, preparation for the following day can start the night before, from choosing and laying out your clothes, shoes and jewelry if you wear jewelry, to pouring out your cereal in a bowl, maybe even covering it with some plastic wrap, putting the cutlery and a glass for your juice on the table, getting ready the night before. And of course, if you've got a family with small children, you can do this for your whole family as well, and it'll help with them, especially when they're getting ready for school or getting ready to head out to university or whatever that may be. Do your preparation the night before. Make your lunch and get a drink ready in the fridge waiting for you as you walk out of the house. Further to this, you can make sure you've got a clean towel in the bathroom so you're not racing around when you're about to have your shower in the morning. Make sure you've got that face washer. Make sure you've got the soap. Make sure you've got your shampoo and your conditioner in the shower so you're not racing around wondering where that sort of thing is. Maybe your children have moved them. But if you prepare the night before, you can absolutely take minutes, many minutes off your morning in the form of distractions and turn them into preparations. Another one is, where's the toilet paper? That just seems like a funny one, but if you're always running out of toilet paper, don't let that be a distraction. Allow it to be a preparation. Keep some in the bathroom, in the cupboard there, and right under the stairs or wherever it is that you like to put it. But always make sure that your bathroom is well set up, so when you start your day, you're not looking for silly little things like that. So then also have your keys, have your wallet, have your handbag, whatever you need for the day, or wherever you're going. Sit it on the hall stand, sit it on the kitchen table, whatever is going to catch your eye as you walk out, so you don't forget these things. Because if you forget them and you get in your car and you're heading off, well, that becomes another opportunity for for you to waste time and have to come back to the house, and it will potentially could cause you to be late. So those types of things, I always leave my keys and my wallet on a hall stand. And sometimes if I need to remember something bigger, I might even put it right near the front door, so I'll literally trip over it as I'm walking out. But another thing is that it's not just the preparation from the night before, it's also preparation days earlier. If you can see that the fuel tank in your car is getting low, well, then instead of worrying about putting fuel in each morning, which is going to be a distraction, prepare to do that maybe in the afternoon on the way home, where it's not so important what time you get home. So that's another thing. Make sure you spend time in the days up to, maybe put the petrol in every weekend, just to make sure that each morning you can get the car and you can go straight to wherever you're going. Or if you've got some sort of public transport sort of cash card, make sure that's got enough credit on it. Always be prepared so these types of things don't become a distraction and cause you to be late. If you like checking emails of a morning, I know I like doing that. Maybe do that at the same time as having your breakfast. Don't make that another opportunity for you to be late. Lots of these types of things cause stress, and sometimes you do these things and you don't even realize you're doing them. So a lot of these things can be done before the next day. So the night before, then you've got your morning, it's all ready to go, and then the morning should be really, really easy. And if you prepare for it prior, there shouldn't be a problem. And even if you don't do this normally, you can start to put these things in practice. And even if you don't get it right straight away, you can still go back and start ticking some of these things off, and make sure that you try and get really, really good at it. If you are habitually late every time you leave the house, whether it be morning or afternoon, write yourself your to-do list. And always, I use to-do lists for everything, not just for the morning. I use to-do lists for everything. I wrote a to-do list for this video series, making sure that everything I wanted to say and everything that was part of the thought process was part of a to-do list, so I wouldn't forget things. So if you're not running around the house like a madman or a mad woman, and you're panicking and rushing and stressing everyone out, well, that's going to be a good thing, and that's going to come from preparation the night before and then having everything ready to go that morning. So here's an example of a morning ritual that you may want to follow. And if you do these things, I can pretty much guarantee you won't be late. So maybe write one for yourself that applies to you and follow it religiously until it becomes a habit. So don't forget, it's not just for the morning you need to be prepared for. So it could be going out on Saturday night. It could be going to work or church or a sporting event. Or it could be a concert. It could be anything. In the past, people have noticed that you've always been late. But with this advice, you'll have a new set of routines that you can greatly assist in helping you be on time or early, and hopefully to the applause and the gratitude of your boss, maybe your church leader, your friends and your family. They'll start to notice a massive change in you, and that is excellent. So you can try this. Obviously the times are just made up, and it's an example that is presumed that for this example you don't have to look after children, but if you do and you need to change this example around a little bit, obviously you'd have to add a little bit to your times, but this is just an example. So maybe at 6:30 your alarm goes off, you wake up and you get up immediately. Go back and watch episode 3 part 1 where I talk about don't press the snooze button. The snooze button is your enemy. So don't press the snooze button. So at 6:35 you're up and you get in the shower and you get dressed. So between getting up and getting in the shower, you've only got 5 minutes. Maybe use the bathroom at the same time. So between 6:35 and 6:55, you've got a full 20 minutes to have a shower, dry your hair, get dressed, and be ready to sit at the breakfast table so you can have your breakfast. But remember, you've already set up your breakfast, so you're not having to do that. And your glass there for your juice, and maybe if you've got a coffee machine, you can set that up for an automatic start as well. But check your emails while you're eating your breakfast. So you've got your spoon and you're eating your breakfast there. Well, check your emails at the same time. And if you're addicted to social media, well, don't waste time after breakfast. Check out your social media during breakfast and you can multitask. And I'll talk about that in another session that's coming up very, very soon. So at 6:55, it doesn't take long for you to quickly have your breakfast. And at 7 o'clock, grab your lunch and your drink. Well, we know that's already set up in the fridge. Grab your keys, grab your wallet, grab your bag, grab your jacket, or whatever it is, and then leave the house. So that's a half-hour turnaround. It is very, very doable from getting up to leaving the house in half an hour. Now, of course, that's a one person with no other responsibilities for anybody else. And so obviously you may have to change that, add 20 minutes or even half an hour if you're looking after children or if you're caring for someone. But for a single person or maybe a professional couple, there's absolutely no reason why you can't have a half-hour turnaround from when the alarm goes off to when you leave the house. And I do it every single day. I've been doing it for many, many years, and I know it works. So there's some good information there. So I really hope part 2 has given you plenty of information that you can work on in terms of adjusting your habits and behaviors that has caused you to be late in the past. Time management for the average Joe is very, very important for all of us. And if you've been one that's been habitually late, people have characterized you for being late. Well, we really hope that as you watch these videos, you can glean some great information and hopefully put some of these things in practice, and you'll see a massive change in your life. So look, be sure to give me a thumbs up if you've really enjoyed this video. Please share it on your social media outlets, maybe give me some comments, and I would love to give you some further suggestions, advice. If you want to put some comments on the page, that would be excellent. Stay tuned for episode 5, which is called Paying Attention to Detail. There's a lot of attention to detail required in time management and being successful at it. So go back, watch the rest of the videos if you haven't seen them, and then stay tuned for episode 5, Paying Attention to Detail. My name's Rob from Sydney, Australia, and this is the series Time Management for the Average Joe. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.